Hey there, if you've had bad experiences with financial people, today's video is for you. I know there's a ton of people out there who really struggle with finding the right financial team. We're going to talk about exactly what that looks like, why it happens, and what you can do about it so that by the end of this, you're going to know exactly how to pick out the right financial team for you, make sure they know their stuff, and figure out how to put it all together. So let's jump into it. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Derick Van Ness. I'm the founder and lead tax and wealth strategist for Big Life Financial. Worked with over 2,000 business owners in the last 15 years, and I've seen it all. We've helped people save probably approaching $75 million in taxes over the last decade, shown people how to build wealth, how to transition their business income into personal wealth. And today we're going to really talk about all the things that I've seen in the last 15 years because it's been a lot of stuff. Now, the truth is, most financial people are just salespeople with some letters after their name, right? And the truth is, if somebody has letters after their name, it doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. Most CPAs don't study taxes. They actually, to get their CPA exam, they have to take 6 tests, but none of those is really focused on taxes. So a lot of them are great at what they do, and a lot of them are not. It's not what they've been trained to do. There's a lot of people who are financial planners or other kinds of things. Listen, to pass one of those tests, all you got to do is spend a week or two, read a bunch of stuff, regurgitate it, pass the test, and then you've got your license. But that doesn't mean that you know how to help people create wealth, right? In fact, most people who start out don't. So what do? They start working for a company. What does that company usually do? It does not teach them how to be an excellent tax planner, an excellent financial planner, an excellent wealth strategist. It teaches them how to sell whatever that company sells. So usually what you end up with is somebody who's really good, has a great presentation, can walk you through the steps to get you to sign up or use their services. And then after that, you're getting very, very generic advice. And I hate to say it that way, but it is what I've seen probably 90% of the industry is people who know how to sell a particular product in a particular way or a particular service to a group of people. But after that, everything you're getting is very generic. And I don't want to pick on someone in particular, but like I work with a lot of doctors and dentists and high income earners, and a lot of them say, listen, I want a dental CPA. I've worked with a bunch of dental CPAs, and most of them do nothing different that's dental specific. In fact, there's a few things like the research and development credits and a few other things that dentists can do that are specific to that industry, and they're getting ignored anyway. So usually they're paying double for a specific type of CPA, and then they end up getting worse advice. Or the same generic advice as everybody else. And that's a huge problem, and it creates distrust, right? When you pay twice as much, you expect at least twice as much result, and you're not getting it. And so I can understand the frustration there. So let me pull the curtain back for you just a little bit here and show you what I see, because most high income earners, right? And we usually work with people who are accredited investors, 300,000 plus of taxable income. Up to about $2 million is kind of our sweet spot. And then we do have some advanced strategies above that. But like for that group of people, what happens is they're getting the same advice as their W-2 employees, right? So your income is here. You're getting the same advice as people who are in a completely different economic category than you. They're getting the same generic, max out your 401k, put money in your IRA, some really, really basic tax strategy. But they're not really getting anything robust that's truly tailored to where you are, right? The reality is there's about 5 categories of where you probably need higher and higher level services. And in most cases, if you've been frustrated with financial people, it's because you started with someone. Maybe they're good for a couple of years, but then as you moved up, you outgrew their services, right? Just like when a kid's growing up and he outgrows his clothes, you can't just have him wearing the same stuff at 8 years old as he was wearing at 4 years old. Doesn't work, right? Same thing with you as a business owner. You start off as a baby business owner, and then you move your way up. Your income gets better, your revenue gets better, you make more, you have different kinds of problems, and you need a team with you that can grow into that. So if you've been frustrated or lost trust, it's probably because you had someone who was okay at a certain level, and then you rose above it. So these 5 income categories that I think really help people to understand when do you need to shift or upgrade are 0 to about $150,000. Up to that point, taxes aren't crazy expensive, right? They're like the first $12,000 you get it's like 0%. And then you go and do a 10% and then a 12% and then a 22% tax bracket. And then things start to get a little bit more expensive after that. So in that $0 to $150,000 range, you have one person. From 150 to, I would say, 300, 350,000. Now there's a little more tax planning. You've got a little more money to work. You've got some money to invest. You can do some different things. Things start to get better and a little bit more sophisticated. Not a lot, but a little bit, right? And it becomes more impactful. Once you hit about $300,000, $350,000, you become an accredited investor. And you also start to run into some real tax issues. If you don't know, taxes get quite expensive, starting at about $400,000 as a married couple. And so at that point, you really do need people who know what they're talking about. And there's a lot of things that start to make sense at that level, tax-wise and investment-wise, that open up for you that are not available prior to that, right? And I would say from that 300, 350 range up to $1.5 million or $2 million, there's a bunch of things that fall in that category. And that's a good spot for people to really start to learn the game. Once you get above about $2 million of income, then your next jump is when you get to about a $25 million net worth. And that's where you're going to get like a true family office that can help you to full-time manage your assets and really build wealth in a completely different way. So the 25 million plus, they're playing a totally different game. The 2 to 25 is quite a bit different. It's a continuation of the 350 to 2 million, just more advanced, and you can do some more things there. So a lot of the people that I'm probably talking to here are in the $350 to $2 million range. That's a really underserved market. Most people in that get pushed down into the lower market because they're not making enough to do the advanced strategies, but there aren't a lot of people who know advanced strategies. So you get slid into that same category as the 0 to 150, and it's just not serving you. So I understand if you've been frustrated, you're like, why can nobody tell me this? Why can Amazon pay 0 taxes and I'm getting blasted in taxes, right? If you're in a high income tax state, you might be paying 40, 50 cents on the dollar of every dollar that you make just because nobody's around to tell you. So I want to give you a couple of key things that you can do to identify, have I outgrown this person? Is this person at my level? Is this team at my level? How do I do this? And we're going to go through those right now. So when you first meet with these people, if you're looking to build out your team and get things right, first off, if you can find a team that's coordinated, people who actually work together, not just say, hey, yeah, we've got a guy who does that, or we have a guy who does this, but really a team that meets regularly on your behalf proactively, that's a super green flag. If they're just siloed and they say, yeah, I know a financial advisor or I know an attorney, you're probably in the gray area. Who knows, right? They still could be good. They may have a good working relationship with some of those people, but it's certainly not the same as a coordinated effort. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, are these people at my level? Are they serving clients that are in my income level? And you can kind of get a sense of asking them, who are your typical clients? Who do you typically serve? If they don't know much about you, hopefully they're going to speak your language and tell you about people like you that are in your category. That's a huge first step, because if they kind of say, well, we just work with everybody, or we just work with high earners. I mean, a high earner could be in some people's mind is $150,000, and in other people's it's $150 million. So what do they mean when they say these things? Try and get an understanding of who is this person or this team specifically set up to help. And you can really tell this if they start asking specific questions, not just like generic, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? Or how much do you want to save in taxes? Or why are you looking? But they're talking to you about your industry. They're talking about business owners. They're talking about what have you done in the past? But they're asking really specific questions that allow you to know this person knows what they're talking about. If somebody's just asking generic questions, usually they just have a total template, easy way that they do things. It's easy for them, but costly for you. We really want to try and avoid that. So if they're not being specific, that's probably a huge red flag. The second thing is a continuation of that. If they decide that they want to talk with you further, or you decide you want to talk with them further, are they asking for any documentation? If you're working with financial people, They need to know what's going on. They probably need some sort of intake form that's specific to you as a business owner, not just some generic one sheet thing that you check the boxes. They may want to see documentation of your investment statements, your life insurance policies, or if it's a tax person, a really good tax team is going to look at the last 3 years of your taxes and say, hey, what have you been doing? What does your business look like? What's the trajectory of it? Where's it going? And make sure that they can actually help you. If they're not doing some sort of deep dive into your particular financial situation on the front end, then they're probably not a good fit, because once again, they're not bringing a real plan. They're just looking at, can we bring someone in the door and sign them up? And if that's all they want, they're probably not the right fit for you. So the next step is, once they gather this documentation and they've talked to you, are they coming to the table with a plan? Do they want to meet proactively? Do they want to go over certain things? Are they reviewing with you? Here's what we found. Or are they just coming in and they're immediately going into a sales pitch? Here, let me show you this product. This is how it works. This is how it's going to be great. Let me show you some cool charts that just go up and to the right, and you're always going to be happy. If they're just doing some generic engineering that way, or putting together something that feels very stock, you're probably not with the right people if you're a business owner earning 300 plus, right? If you're in the 0 to 150, that probably works for you. But most of our clients need a lot more than that, because you have to know the specifics of how things work, and you have to coordinate taxes, investment, insurance, legal, entity structuring. All of that comes together. And there's no way a team can do that if they don't have documentation and they don't put together some sort of plan moving forward for you on how exactly they're going to get there. Now, the next thing you want to look at is, do they want to have regular meetings for you? If they just say, hey, send us your stuff, we'll see you at the end of the year, or send us your stuff, here's our sales pitch, we'll talk to you later, that's a problem. Like if it's a tax team, you probably want to be meeting with them quarterly or at least 3 times a year to see proactively what's happening throughout the year and do planning before the end of the year. If they're financial people, should probably be meeting at least twice, maybe 3 or 4 times, depending on how active you are. But in the beginning, especially, to be reworking, reviewing, figuring out where you are, making a plan to go where you want to go. It takes meetings, it takes time. So if they're not proactively pushing to meet in the future and you have to come to them, that's a huge red flag, right? So I'd be looking for someone who says, hey, we're going to meet quarterly, we're going to meet monthly. We meet with our consulting clients that we do financial consulting. Like we meet every single month. It's on a structure, on a schedule. Our tax team meets with people quarterly. This is what you want to be looking for in a team or in people, is the ability to do things forward, not just in the past, right? To be creating things on purpose, not by accident. If you don't have people doing that and pushing in that direction, once again, you're probably just finding someone who you've outgrown or who's very generic in their approach. And that's not going to serve you as well as someone who really understands your needs and wants to consistently build with you. That's what you're looking for. And then the ultimate thing that you really want to be looking for is, do they have case studies of clients like you? Or are they willing to give you references or people that you can talk to? Do they have testimonials? You want to know that they've really worked with clients like you. You know, every business grows and they go through a transition from maybe a lower end client and work their way up. People don't just come into higher level tax and financial and insurance and investment planning without working their way up. You just want someone who's been working at your level for a while, not someone whose clients typically are over here and you're all the way up here, because they're not going to fully understand. So do they have the case studies? Do they have the stories? Can they tell you about clients like you that they worked with and what kind of results they've gotten? Obviously, past results don't mean what's going to happen in the future, but what it does do is give you a sense of what they're able to accomplish and that they're working with people like you. Now, if you can get these 5 questions answered and you can understand, hey, this is a person or a team that's working with people just like me, they're having good results, people say good things about them, they've got a plan, they want to proactively help me execute that plan, now you're probably in the right place. So the next time you meet with a financial professional, go in there, ask these questions, start getting an understanding. If they're the wrong fit, it's okay. It's not their fault. Maybe they're working their way up. Maybe they're just here to grind it out and just do volume instead of quality. Totally fine. It's just a different model. Just like different people shop at Walmart versus Target versus Nordstrom versus Bloomingdale's, you need to understand where you're at on that continuum, what you want, and ask for the services and find the people that really check those boxes. So hopefully this was useful to you. I think by now you have a really good idea of what you're looking for. If this was helpful, go ahead and smash the like button. Subscribe if you like this kind of content. Would love to see more. And drop me a comment if you have questions about this or things that you didn't understand, or if you want to know more about a particular topic, let me know and we'll be sure to make more videos that way. Anyway, thanks for stopping by and we'll see you on the next one.